This is the first meeting of the Ohio Redistricting Commission.
Do solemnly swear. Support the Constitution of
The second time around.
the Constitution of
2 years ago, 3 years ago, redistricting went off the rails
discharge
because they met late
the duties
with a looming deadline.
of the office.
That's happening again here. This is the first meeting of the Ohio Redistricting Commission,
Which I
up against an October 31st
11 pursuant to
deadline.
Article 11, Section 1 of the Ohio Constitution.
I'm Matt Westerhold. This is StayTunedSandusky.com.
As I do, as I shall answer unto God. Governor, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mike DeWine, do solemnly swear.
I, Mike DeWine, do
So Ohio Governor Mike DeWine be sworn in. He's the leader of this redistricting commission,
State of Ohio.
which is made up of
And to
DeWine,
make discharge
Frank LaRose, the Secretary of State,
the duties of the office
as a member
as a member
of the Ohio Redistricting Commission,
of the Ohio Redistricting Commission,
on which I serve,
on which I serve,
pursuant to Article 11
pursuant to Article
it
11
looks like Frank LaRose
of the Ohio
swearing
Constitution.
of the Ohio Constitution.
DeWine in.
And this I do as I shall answer unto God.
And this I do as I shall answer unto God.
Thank you.
Now we will call the roll and would ask the staff, please call the roll.
Governor DeWine, present. Secretary LaRose,
Present.
Auditor Faber,
Present.
Senator Timken, Leader Antonio, Representative Stewart,
Here.
Leader Isaacson.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum present. I will be filing the certificate of compliance of the public meeting notice provision of section 121.22 of the revised code. Now we move to the presentation of co-chairperson appointments for the Ohio Redistricting Commission and the order that any new appointments be entered in the record of the proceedings. Set forth in Article 11, Section 1 of the Ohio Constitution, the co-chairperson appointments to this commission are made by the legislative leaders in the Senate and the House of Representatives of each of the two largest political parties represented in the General Assembly. The two co-chairperson appointments are State Representative Brian Stewart and Senate Minority Leader Nikki Antonio. Let the record reflect these co-chairperson appointments. Now I will turn the meeting over to the two co-chairpersons, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Co-Chair Antonio and I would like to welcome everyone here today. I want to first thank Speaker Huffman and my House colleagues for the opportunity to serve on this commission. This is a process I've watched several times as a spectator, and so I greatly appreciate now getting a chance to be a part of it as a member. Having a role to play in decisions as important as our congressional redistricting plan is part of what makes public service incredibly meaningful to me. And while I know this might have become a less enviable task for some commission members who've been through it several times before, please know it's a real honor for me to serve with all of you. The Ohio Constitution provides 3 different paths for state government to choose between to enact a congressional redistricting map for the entire state. Each of those paths comes with advantages and disadvantages for both the majority party and the minority party. The legislature has declined to use what I would call path 1, and so this commission's job is to decide whether we will choose to use path 2. I believe that the adoption of a plan by this commission is certainly possible, and this process will determine whether or not it becomes probable. Either way, I want the public, our colleagues in state government, and our colleagues in Congress to know that we enter this process with open minds and a willingness to try to find common ground. Thank you to all the commissioners for taking on this special duty. We know you all have other constitutional responsibilities also demand your time and attention. As co-chairs, we will certainly work hard to be efficient and respectful of your time over these next 9 days. And with that, Co-Chair Antonio, would you like to make any remarks?
Thank you, Co-Chair. I want to welcome everyone here. Thank the members of the commission for their service. As I have served on this commission before, it is no less than an honor to serve again. And I take our responsibility extremely serious. We just took an oath to support the Constitution of Ohio. The Ohio Constitution is unambiguous in our duty when it comes to redistricting. It states in the Constitution, the Ohio Redistricting Commission shall adopt a congressional district plan not later than the last day of October. Some of you recognize that as Halloween. As I've said before, the Constitution doesn't say may or shall or should. It says or can. It says shall. It says we shall make a plan. Here we are on October 21st with less than a third of the month remaining to do our constitutional duty. But still, there's no plan for future meetings of the commission. I'm hopeful that we'll discuss that today. It feels like there's a lack of urgency to act out on this from this body. I'm also hoping that that shifts with our meeting today. We've yet to see a single map proposal from our Republican colleagues. We're moving forward day by day to November when our Republican colleagues can pass an unfair gerrymandered plan on a party line vote only. That's part of the process. Delay after seemingly disingenuous delay, we're watching the clock run out, just as it has in the past. I truly hope this commission and its members can find a way for us to work together towards a compromise. Ohioans are expecting that of us. But if we can't, I'm heartened to see the news accounts that folks outside of this commission and the legislature are currently preparing for the possibility of a referendum. If the legislature should make the regrettable mistake of putting politics ahead of the people's interests. In 2018, Ohio voters sent us all a clear message, unmistakable. We needed to serve them better. I hope we can all heed that call today and find a way to do our constitutional duty, work together before the end of the month. Thank you.
I want to remind the audience we are not going to have celebrations, clapping, interjections to the business. With this will be the first warning and dance and refrain moving forward, or folks will be asked to leave. Before we proceed, would anyone else on the commission like to make a brief opening statement? Seeing none. At this time, I'd like to suggest we use Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure, the 2020 edition, until a time when this body wishes to adopt or determines a need for a separate set of rules for this commission. Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure is one of the primary parliamentary manuals that is used to augment both chambers of the Ohio Assembly. Is there any objection to using Mason's?
Mr. Chair, I have a co-chair. I have an objection.
Can you state the basis for the objection?
Yes. We have handed out to everyone, I would move that the commission adopt the procedural rules that were adopted by the Ohio Redistricting Commission in 2021. They are amended with some modifications. Using Masons is one of them, but also a change in the number of hearings and a couple of other items. They are at everyone's desk today. But my objection is that the commission, in addition to using Masons, also establish rules.
Any other comments on the objections? I believe so. Is that a motion to adopt rules?
Well, first, and it's an objection to your motion, and then I would move to adopt rules.
So my motion was to adopt Masons as the Manual of Legislative Procedure. Hearing objection, we will proceed to a vote on my motion to adopt Masons. Would staff please call the roll?
Governor DeWine. Secretary LaRose.
Aye.
Auditor Faber. Senator Timken. Leader Antonio.
No.
Representative Stewart.
Aye.
Leader Isaacson.
With the majority vote, the commission has voted to use Masons until further notice. I will now entertain a motion from Senator Timken.
Mr. Co-Chair, I move that the commission take notice of, receive, and consider all publicly submitted complete statewide congressional district plans previously submitted to the Joint Committee on Redistricting for further consideration by the Ohio Redistricting Commission. As of October 20th, there have been over 90 plans submitted to the Joint Committee for consideration.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I second Senator Timpkins' motion.
There's a motion which has been seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. The commission will receive and consider complete statewide congressional district maps submitted to it for consideration. At this time, we will now consider the identical plans submitted by Co-Chair Antonio and Leader Isaacson. Co-Chair Antonio and Leader Isaacson, you are welcome to take the podium and proceed with your testimony when you are ready.
Well, okay.
Welcome. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the Redistricting Commission. Thank you for allowing us to testify. I'm testifying on behalf of Senate Bill 259. As you're already aware, we have companion legislation, both the House and the Senate. The proposal for a fair constitutional and congressional map. First, I'd like to recognize all the working women and men who have taken important time away from their lives, their families, to be here with us today. Little notice on the part of, as these proceedings are taking place, these Ohioans take the exceptional steps to participate in our process. It's my hope that we will have opportunities to hear their voices, respect their perspective and their recommendations. In 2018, there was a spirit of anticipation. As we approached House Joint Resolution 5, Issue 1, the constitutional redistricting reform. This measure was optimistically supported overwhelmingly by majorities in the legislature and nearly 75% of the voters. Things were finally going to be different. Ohio is going to end gerrymandering once and for all. To encourage our work together, voters saw fit to establish a series of deadlines in September and October where congressional proposals shall only be passed through a bipartisan vote. In these constitutional rules that give form the belief that Ohio is better when we all work together towards fairness and representation for all. This is the core belief Ohioans who voted for this process held with them in their hearts. Now it's become increasingly obvious that there's significant confusion in our legislative body regarding what the voters compelled us to do through the Constitution. So let me be clear. The following is fact, not opinion. Article 19, Section 1, Clause E, reads in part, no later than the last day of October, the Redistricting Commission shall pass a congressional district plan. The Constitution says shall. Doesn't say may or should. It reads shall pass a congressional district plan. That's also constitutional. For 4 years, we've known these days were coming. We have a constitutional duty in this moment to make our best faith effort to work together and pass a congressional proposal by midnight, no later than October 31st, days from now. In the Democrats' effort to uphold our duty, 8 weeks ago, we introduced the most fair constitutional proposal in recent memory, which is this map here. We did it with ample time to hit the deadline as an example to show how to present a fair map while following the rules. In pursuit of fairness, our plan doesn't unduly favor or disfavor a political party or its incumbents. We looked at the previous 10 years of statewide election results and recognized that on average, Ohio has voted 45% of the time for Democrats, 55% for Republicans. We followed the voters' established past voting preferences in crafting 7 districts that lean slightly to the left and 8 districts that lean slightly to the right. We listened to the people to craft these districts because any other scheme that centers on counting politicians or land or, frankly, county election results puts the people's interests last. And none of us wants to do that. Our proposal is more compact than the current map. It creates more districts wholly contained within single counties while also minimizing the number of county splits. And critically, it keeps communities of interest whole. By every measure, our proposal is better than the map currently in effect, the map that the Ohio Supreme Court repeatedly forced the majority to redraw until the clock ran out. I do want to respond to suggestions that the map the Democrats have proposed is somehow gerrymandering, a term that's been bandied about to excess at this point. Wayne Dawkins, a professor at Morgan State University, describes gerrymandering as the practice of politicians picking their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. Certainly, we can all agree gerrymandering is the political manipulation of electoral district boundaries, unfairly advantaging a party to the detriment of another party. But as Representative Timms pointed out weeks ago, the minority doesn't hold the legislative power, let alone the ability to gerrymander. The real issue here is perhaps our map isn't favored by the majority because it returns the power back to the people and creates a map that better reflects their previous voting patterns. But you don't have to take our word for it. More than 170 pieces of written testimony were submitted in the past committee, with the vast majority in favor of our proposal. During our press conference on September 9th, we clearly stated that while we have faith in the fairness of our proposed map, we were open to alternatives. We still are open to our alternatives. We specifically said if Republicans are committed to bipartisanship, they'll allow our fair constitutional map to move forward for a floor vote by the end of the month, or they'll introduce their own fair constitutional plan, or we'll sit down together and hammer out a fair constitutional plan. We've never been wedded to our own proposal as the end-all be-all, but we've always been open to good faith, fair negotiation, and compromise. But that requires both of us sides to show up. I'm hopeful today for another hearing, the fast approaching deadline, and also that Republicans present their map in an effort to reach common ground. I look forward to this committee's questions, but more so, I look forward to reading, considering, and discussing the majority's redistricting proposal wherever and whenever they might choose to share it, for all our sake, but most importantly for the voters. I hope it comes soon. And while this commission provides an opportunity to hear from the public, we, commission members, just took an oath. We have a responsibility to do our job in a bipartisan way as the people directed, because the clock is ticking. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague.
That was State Senator Nikki Antonio from Lakewood. She's the minority representative.
Antonio, and fellow commission members, thank you for the opportunity to testify today regarding the congressional district map that we proposed as House Bill 442. We are weeks in to a federal shutdown that makes
Danny Isaacson, State Representative Danny Isaacson, he's the minority leader from Cincinnati.
lead the lives they deserve. That means access to healthcare they can afford. It means sending their kids to good schools, making sure that those kids have enough to eat at those schools, and that families get safety in their communities. That is what is at stake with congressional representation. We have been tasked by our constituents, by the people of this state, to try and find a bipartisan agreement to adopt a map that can be rightly called the people's map. And they desperately need us to get it right, because every day we are getting reminded of the consequences of having unrepresentative districts. So far, the General Assembly has failed to do that in round one in September. And this commission has just 10 days to meet that charge. The map we have put forward represents a fair constitutional proposal. It complies with what voters overwhelmingly supported in 2018. And within the Joint Redistricting Committee, received significant support from the public amid the questions from our colleagues. But we have yet to receive any alternative map or even substantive suggestion for alternatives to the proposal we have put forward. We continue to welcome feedback because, as you have heard already, we have maintained from the beginning that this proposal is not the only way to reach a fair map. It is our proposal to do that. But we are not insisting on any particular district makeup or partisan ballots. The map we are proposing does, however, keep communities together, minimize the splitting of counties and cities, increase compactness relative to the current map, and it recognizes both federal and state requirements for equal population and protection of minority voting rights. In this map, 74 counties are kept whole, 14 counties are split once, and no county is split twice. 3 districts are entirely within a single county, an improvement on the current congressional map. It was developed based on the last 10 years of statewide voting data, which show that in this state, Ohioans are voting around 55% Republican and 45% Democrat. This map has 8 districts that would favor a Republican and 7 that would favor a Democrat, but 5 of those districts are within just 5 points, and another 2 are within 6 points. Competitive districts are so important to getting people the representation they deserve because it forces candidates to compete for votes in the general election in November. Without it, we have a political system that forces people to the edges, to the extremes, and ends up leaving most people without the representation they deserve. A gerrymandered map, however, is one that is drawn to give unfair or special advantage to a political party and minimize competitive elections. And so in a state where just over half the voters tend to vote Republican, having 11 out of 15 districts drawn to heavily favor one party is a gerrymandered map. It strips Ohioans of the ability to truly hold their representatives accountable. Every day we are seeing what happens when politicians are able to choose their voters and not the other way around. That is the only explanation for how so many members of Congress were able to vote to put 11 rural hospitals at risk of closing across this state, to drive healthcare premiums through the roof when people can least afford their costs to go up, and reduce SNAP payments to the point where kids will no longer have access to the same level of food for breakfast and lunch in schools. That is the cost of a government that is not representative through competitive elections. House Bill 442 is not the only way to create fair districts worthy of Ohioans, and we would welcome the opportunity to engage with maps drawn by other members of this commission that meet the constitutional requirements. We hope this commission is able to work together, set aside the partisan differences we see across the country and in DC, and develop a map that meets our constitutional requirements and represents Ohioans as best as possible. These have to be Ohio maps for Ohio citizens and no one else. I look forward to the opportunity to work with commission members and see bipartisan proposals or proposals from the majority for what a district map could look like. We stand ready to move forward with House Bill 442, including amendments on this proposal. Thank you so much. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Co-Chair Antonia. Thank you, Leader Isaacson. Before we take questions from the commission, I feel like this is the part in jeopardy where Alex Trebek comes in and says we have a small correction. The able lawyers have alerted me that actually pursuant to Article 11, Section 1B2A of the Ohio Constitution, we actually cannot adopt rules without at least one vote from the minority party. So having not gotten one of those votes, we are proceeding as a commission for now without rules. But Co-Chair Antonia and I have already talked about the fact that we're going to collaborate and have more discussion about adopting rules ahead of the next commission meeting. So with that programming note, are there any questions from members of the commission? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
That was Danny Isaacson, state representative from Cincinnati. He's the minority representative.
This concludes our published agenda for the day. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn the commission for the day?
Mr. Co-Chair, before we have a motion to adjourn, I would like to ask if there is a plan for future meetings of this commission.
To the co-chair, there are discussions happening, as you know, between leadership of both parties, including staff, to try to make sure that we can have dates that are available for all commission members to attend. Certainly, we're required to have additional meetings. I think we have penciled in informally some dates that might work for that. And I think the plan is that hopefully by the end of the day, we would have a little more finality as to when those dates would be.
Thank you.
The questions? Seeing no objections, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Auditor Faber. All in favor by voice vote, say aye. Aye. This concludes the first meeting of the commission.
State leaders just concluded the first and only meeting of the Ohio Redistricting Commission in just about less than around 30 minutes. The commission is charged with approving fair election maps for congressional districts as required by an amendment to the state constitution supported by 70% or so of Ohio voters in 2018. This is the second attempt to comply with that mandate, and it's unclear where this goes from here. Thank you for tuning in or watching this later. If you're able to, please subscribe, like, and enjoy StayTunedSandusky.com. If you're able to, please consider a paid subscription to support local journalism. Thank you.